Hello everybody, my name is Necroxis, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about basically my feelings about World of Warcraft in terms of Dragonflight, and pay no mind to the fact that I'm wearing the same clothes, and this definitely wasn't immediately recorded after the last video. It didn't happen, can't prove it, sorry. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty rambly off the cuff. I don't really have a script. I have like very basic bullet points on like a notepad sheet open on my phone, on my desktop. But other than that, I kind of want to just give my overall thoughts about Dragonflight. So if you're ready for like a 20-minute rambly vlog where I probably repeat myself like those good old days when I used to make videos like this, get ready. Also, this will probably be fairly negative, so I just need to do this so I can never talk about Dragonflight again and we can just move forward with the War Within. So, where to start? I think if Dragonflight had to do one thing, it was to stop the bleeding, because Shadowlands inflicted such a mortal blow onto the Warcraft story, the brand, the game itself, that, I mean, look, say what you want. I know Warcraft purists always get butthurt when Final Fantasy XIV gets brought up, but no other expansion caused a mass exodus from WoW to 14, except for Shadowlands. So, it is what it is. And I think if I have a hair on my camera, wow, I'm very professional. I think you can look at Shadowlands and Dragonflight like this. If you personify World of Warcraft as a person, Shadowlands just cut your arm off and you were just bleeding to death very slowly. Dragonflight cauterized the wound, but you're still missing your hand. Does that make sense? Like, it's really... At first I would have said you could not have done worse than Battle for Azeroth, and then Shadowlands was like, move bitch, get out the way, because holy shit. So, Dragonflight being better does not inherently mean Dragonflight was great, or even good. I would say it was okay. I played a total of 2 months of all of Dragonflight. I played right when it came out, or very shortly after launch. I played right when the Razageth LFR finally unlocked, so I could do the whole 4 wings right away. I did all of that in a month. So, I did all of 10.0 in a month, including, all the dungeons, all the stories, all the main quests, all the side quests. I did all the raid through LFR, because fuck raiding, I don't want to do that in WoW anymore. And then I stopped playing. I was determined to try to get all my renown in 10.0 to their final story beat, until I realized the Dragonscale expedition, for some inexplicable reason, tied like the second to the last chapter in the overall endgame plot to like 2 ranks before the max, which I just couldn't do in a month. So I just stopped trying. Excuse me, but I saw everything else. Interestingly enough, I didn't finish that stupid Dragonscale expedition plot until I came back way later in 10.2, when I came back and just did everything else in the game that I had missed. Which is funny because that chapter of the Dragonscale expedition in 10.0 is setting up Tyr, but if you come back in 10.2, all the other stuff is unlocked already, so you can already be like working with Tyr and reforming him, and Tyr being alive again, and then go back to the Dragonscale expedition rank. Is it renowned 23 out of 25, I think? And then it's like, we have rumblings of Tyr, and I'm like, bitch, I just brought him back to life like 2 hours ago. Like, and that I think is a pretty big failure of Warcraft storytelling. So that's basically what I did. I played in 10.0 for a month, and I played in 10.2 for a month, and I didn't have a bad time. I will say, one thing I will give credit to Dragonflight is, in 10.2, I hadn't played since 10.0, so I was very far behind on gear. I can think of maybe one instance where I was in 10.2 and I got gear locked by my eye level, and it was just because I was trying to do all of the LFR of the Yggdrasil, and I could do all of it except for the final fight against Farak. I had to like spend 20k gold and buy a thing to craft, and then I was able to get in. So I will give them credit that gearing up to the current content in Dragonflight was good. I didn't have any problems with it. So I'm going to go back and just give some general thoughts about each major patch. So Well, before we do that, I would say something World of Warcraft really just they can't get right. They got close in Mists of Pandaria, but that's the closest it ever got to telling a good overarching story. Because in Mists of Pandaria, you had what? You had the Horde and the Alliance War was like the forefront of the plot. But everything else going on in the background, the Mantid, the Shah, the Shadowpan, the Pandaren, Terran Zoo, like all of that was feeding into the faction war, and the faction war was feeding back out into that, culminating with the Siege of Orgrimmar. I think all of that flowed pretty well. You know, you had some standouts like the Isle of Thunder, which kind of tied in with the Mogu, but it kind of was out of nowhere, but it still felt relevant enough that it still felt part of the overarching plot. Dragonflight doesn't have this. It's a huge mess all over the place. The main story quest is supposed to be about the Primal Incarnates. But is it really? Because in 10.0, you get such a small look into Razageth's, what her mind, her character, what she wants to do. There's a book out that you can go read, but I don't want to do that. I want to experience it in the game. I'm so sick of this book shit where you have to go outside to a book to understand what the hell is going on. Shadowlands was basically like a total clusterfuck unless you read the stupid, still terrible Sylvanas book. And even then, her motivations made no sense, but still, they tried to explain it in there. But Razageth was just like, I'm angry. And then if you read the Dragonflight book, Razageth in that book is framed like Farak is in the game, and Farak in the book is framed like Razageth is in the game. In the game, Razageth is portrayed as like this very cunning, manipulative, like she has plans upon plans upon plans, and she accomplishes them, and that's how she frees the other incarnates. In the book, she's portrayed as like very brash, chaotic, prone to anger, easily snaps, and wants to just kill everybody. In the game, that is what Farak is like. But in the books, Farak is like Razageth is in the game. He's very cunning. He's manipulative. He has plans upon plans upon plans. He's not just Aridikon's stooge to do whatever he wants. So it's very confusing even if you read the book to then go, but these two characters' personalities are flopped in the game. So it's confusing. So 10.0, the overarching plot is a mess. It's not bad, it's just kind of incoherent, and I guess it sets up the rest of the Primal Incarnates, but only because they all show up at the end when she dies. And the fact that she does die is kind of disappointing. But there are a good amount of small stories, which is something Warcraft has gotten better at. For all the terrible things we could say about Shadowlands, there are still some good, smaller scale stories in that expansion, and there are even more in Dragonflight. In Dragonflight, I'm thinking of things like the dwarf who is the orc the dragon orc who comes to the Dragon Isles seeking penance before he dies for everything he did against the dragons. We have the old red dragon who was friends with the black dragons before they all went insane. We have the really interesting, I cannot remember their names off the top of my head, so I'm sorry. In Azure Span, the blood elf guy and his buddy, the human dude, who are friends as part of the expedition, and then the blood elf guy sacrifices himself in the end. That had such low stakes, but I got to know both of those characters and I really liked them. And it was just an example of, you don't have to have world-ending, universe-ending stakes to tell a good, small story. Stuff like that. And there's more that I'm just forgetting off the top of my head. And I will say, in span of the whole expansion, a smaller storyline that is a through line through the whole all the patches is the Blue Dragonflight storyline, which is really phenomenal. It's fantastic. Every patch it's brought up. It's good in 10.0. It's good in 10.2. All of it's good. Ezragos' final goodbye actually gave me tears. It was just fantastic the whole way through. So there is good story stuff in there. It's just Steve Denuser and whoever else is writing the overarching story, they just can't do it. which is probably why Steve Denuser left. He's not at Blizzard anymore. So, just coincidentally happened to be around the time Metzen started announcing, like, we're doing a trilogy and I'm planning it ahead of time. Steve Denuser's like, bye. He quit. Like, he quit. He didn't get fired, he left. Okay. But, so that was 10.0. Not super memorable. And then we go to the Forbidden Reach. 10.0.7, I think is what it was. And when I came back in 10.2, I wanted to do this patches in order. Because I know there is a story flow, even if it's very disconnected. I was in my Final Fantasy XIV mode, where you have to do the patches as they go before you get to the current stuff. So, if you want to play Endwalker, you gotta start at 6.0, even if the game right now is in 6.55. You can't skip to 6.55. You have to do it all in order, which is good. That's how it should be. So the Forbidden Reach, as a concept, I didn't hate when I heard what it was. In execution, it was horrible. Like, it's the one thing I was excited for, which is the Endless Halls. I forget what the name of it is. I was like, oh, this is something that is exactly what I like. It's not a FOMO, endless mode run thing. Like, you try to get the mount, you have to do specific things in specific orders in the Endless Halls. And I was like, that's cool. So and in 10.2, they really buffed the drop rate of the keys, and you could buy more keys for very low cost. So there was no grinding for keys when I did it or anything like that. I just got all the keys for the first one, for what I thought was the one and only Endless Halls. And I unlocked everything, and I was working toward the mount. I was like 2/3 of the way through, and then I realized there's more than one Endless Hall. I don't know how many there actually even are, to be honest. And in all the ones that there are, not all the events are active every time it's up, which is another thing I didn't know, because I hit a wall where I had to get an item to continue getting the achievement that I just couldn't get right now. And that was the moment where I was like, fuck this, I'm done, and I stopped playing that expansion, that patch, and I left, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So then comes 10.1, Aberrus, which may go down as the patch that I hate the most out of the entire game, which is impressive when 9.1 and Sanctum of Domination exists. Because they took one of my favorite characters, Mr. Wrathion, the Black Prince, and they just shat all over him. For what purpose? To what end? To install fucking Abyssian as the Black Dragon aspect. The most boring character in the entire expansion. I cannot stress to you how much I hate this patch. How much I hate whoever wrote the Black Dragonflight storyline. It could, because very clearly, whoever wrote it was insanely, supremely biased against Wrathion and why people like him. Because the way he acted in 10.0 as well, but it's bumped up to 11 in 10.1, he acts more of a spoiled brat than he was even in Cataclysm. Even his youngest, most arrogant, most insecure, most brash and obnoxious self is worse in 10.1 than in the rest of the franchise. And they had spent... I could do like a whole thesis on the destruction of Wrathion's character. And talking about how from Cataclysm, when he was introduced, the entire fucking part of his arc, the end goal, the whole point of Wrathion's character is to have him become the Black Dragon aspect, who does it honorably and isn't corrupted. That was literally the entire point of his character. It's why he was doing what he was doing in Cataclysm. It's why he was doing what he was doing in Mists of Pandaria. It's why he was doing what he was doing when he inadvertently caused Warlords of Draenor. Even doing that on accident, he was still trying to help and save the planet. Every single action he took in the story was about him trying to become the aspect his father should have been. And then in Dragonflight, what do? They reintroduce Civilian, who inexplicably is not corrupted for some reason. And let me just be clear, I'm relitigating this topic once again, but this is my final time talking about this. At no point in the story, anywhere, do they ever establish that just because Civilian was on Outland does not mean that they don't suffer from the corruption of the old gods as the Black Dragonflight. Nothing states this. The second, they do say that the effects are lessened when he's on Outland because of how far away it is, but lessened and eliminated are not the same thing. The second that Civilian should have stepped foot on Azeroth, he should have started getting corrupted again. Because they had all the pieces there for a perfect Black Dragonflight plot. Wrathion's there. He's helping Alexstrasza. We'll get to a problem I have with that in a second. He's trying to become the aspect. Civilian shows back up because he's like, yo, I hear all the dragons are coming back to the Dragon Isles. Here I am with these people that I have. Somehow I have a flight. Don't ask questions. It happened off screen, even though last time you saw me, all I had was one whelpling, and I told you a whole story about how my whole flight was dead. Shh, don't think about it. But then, him and his brood start becoming corrupted. And Battle for Azeroth literally had this plot thread sitting there waiting for Blizzard to just do it with Wrathion. Where Abyssian, in 8.3, in the N'Zoth patch, he shows up in the Chamber of the Heart. What happens to him? He starts becoming corrupted by N'Zoth because he's a black dragon who hasn't been cured and immunized against their whispers like fucking Wrathion has. The whole point of his character. So what does Wrathion do in 8.3? He spends a whole bunch of time, you're helping him gather all these ingredients to make a potion to give to Abyssian so that he's saved from the whispers. Why the fuck was the plot line not Wrathion doing that for Civilian and his brood and bringing all the black dragons together? Abyssian can be there because 8.3 established him and Wrathion got close because Wrathion saved his fucking life and he started seeing him as his actual brother. That's the perfect unity plotline for the Black Dragonflight. Instead, what we got was the most stupid, immature, character-ruining, bickering nonsense where Civilian is just being a dickhead for no reason. Wrathion's acting like his pre-Cataclysm self. Yes, when he was in the egg. That immature. And Abyssian's just like, yo dog, I'm here. I do no work and I guess I get to be the aspect. It's terrible. It's terrible. Everything about it is bad. And even the 3-line dialogue scene in 10.2 between Wrathion and Civilian doesn't make up for it. It's terrible. It thoroughly ruins his character. It destroys the end of his arc. And he's not even listed in The War Within as a character. The one shining hope I had where I was like, okay, you destroyed his character, you ruined his arc, his 14-year now, because Cataclysm was in 2010, his 14-year-long character arc. At least, now that Abyssian is the aspect, Wrathion can move on and he can go explore the world and become like the diplomat or, the spy that he could be. Nope, he's not even in any of the marketing or the advertising or even mentioned once in The War Within. So what the fuck is the point? So that's the story part of 10.1. The raid was okay. I don't remember a lot of it because I'm pretty sure I did all of the LFR one Saturday night when I was drunk. There's no way that what's-his-face, the final boss, the Drakthir dude, he's so unmemorable that I can't even remember his name right now. There's no way that he was originally going to be the final boss. Very clearly, some hastily rewrites were done. And the zone, Zaralek Caverns, sucks. It's so shit. All of the elites most of the daily elites are non-soloable. And I'm a warlock. I can solo lots of shit, even elites. And they're just intentionally designed to be horribly annoying and take forever. 10.2 isn't as bad as this, and they fixed that problem, but 10.1 was like that. So between the zone, the plot, the raid, it all was shit, and I didn't like any of it, and it was just... Everything bad about Dragonflight is encapsulated in that one patch. So then we have 10.2 Amir Jasil. The patch where the Night Elf World Tree is regrown on the Dragon Isles. And not where Teldrassil was. Or not even in any or near any Night Elf lands. What a shit show this plot turned out to be. Not only do we have all of the nonsense with the World Tree and Amir Jasil being planted on the Dragon Isles, we have everything from the laughably terrible Avengers Endgame scene that Denuzer wrote, Steve Denuzer, where Alexstrasza is like, I'm never alone, and then all these characters who were never even in the fucking expansion show up to be like, we're gonna fight for the World Tree, and then later on they have Jaina say something like, I let one tree fall, we never will let it fall again, right, Thrall? Remember when we fought together at Teldrassil? And he's like, yes, you got it, Jaina. It's like, this is so unearned, guys. I don't know who wrote this, but you should be embarrassed, and you shouldn't have your job anymore. And luckily, he doesn't have his job anymore. So, aces. The raid itself is fine. The bosses are cool. Farak is a cool final boss. As a villain, Farak sucks and is boring. I guess he doesn't suck, but he's boring and uninteresting, and I don't care about him, and now he's dead. So, yeah. I don't know what else you want me to say about Amir Jasil. Amir Jasil once again shows that the overarching plot threads make no sense, and whoever writes the overarching plot doesn't know what they're doing. Everything with Ysera coming back could have just been cut out of the game, and nothing would have changed. That patch should have been about Marithra proving herself, which it is, but it's also overshadowed by the fact that Ysera is there, doing the whole flip-flop switch with Malfurion, just doing more torture porn arcs for Tyrande until finally she gets a win, and then promptly retires and gives leadership to Chandras, because God forbid Blizzard figure out finally how to fucking write Malfurion and Tyrande as both co-leaders together. Nope, gotta give it to Chandras, who I like. I like Chandras, but it's such a stupid cop-out. They've gone on record saying they don't know how to write Tyrande and Malfurion together, and I'm like, dude, you don't know how to do it? Figure it out. I have no notes for you other than get good. Like, it's not hard to write a couple as a leader. Just figure it out, dude. So, I don't know. I just realized I forgot about the Bronze Dragonflight patch, and that's because so did the overarching plot. It didn't matter. It never mattered. It's not going to matter. They washed their hands at the Murazan plot and just solved it lickety-split in a mega dungeon with Chromie, who is the most obnoxious character ever. They took her from someone who was very interesting, from like Vanilla up through Legion? I would say Deaths of Chromie was still pretty okay, but everything after that was just horrible. They decided that they wanted to just like weeabooify her character and just make her like, OMG, Uwu, we could do it together with the power of friendship, kawaii! And it's like, who decided to do this? Why? You ruined her character, now everybody hates her. Which is a very tall order when you make her like your... I mean, I'm sorry to use this phrase, but that's what she is. You make her your token trans character. And you make her the most obnoxious, annoying character that everybody hates. Like, if you're gonna sit there and make a token character who's a minority, don't make... First of all, that's bad and don't do that, but if you're gonna do that, don't make them the worst fucking annoying character ever. Oh my god. So that's Dragonflight. It wasn't the worst, but it's like going from somebody... I don't know how graphic I want to go with this, but it's like... I guess I'll go... Because this is America and sexual stuff is bad, but violence is not. It's like somebody murdering your whole family and then going to somebody who's just cutting your limbs off. It's like, it's better, I guess, but it's not great. So, I don't know, man. That's Dragonflight. And so for the War Within, I was excited when Metzen announced he was coming back. The thing that got me way more excited, though, was learning that Denuzer left the team. So I'm really hoping that whatever work he did on the War Within was heavily overseen by Metzen and censored, so we don't get any of Denuzer's stupid shit that everyone hates. And everybody hates it. Sorry, Taliesin, they do. But that is what made me a lot more excited. I realized I didn't do a reaction to the Thrall and Anduin cinematic. That's just because it's just such unearned sentimentality. It's how many more times do we need to watch Anduin have like a pseudo father figure because his dad's dead? We don't need to do it again, Blizzard. We don't. We didn't need it with Sarfang. It was stupid and made no sense. We don't need it with Gen. Gen's okay. He's the least annoying version of it. And we don't need it with Thrall. Like, for fuck's sake. Give that kid a break. Anduin's another one of my favorites that they just threw into the trash. And that was in Shadowlands. So I went from Shadowlands ruining my second favorite character of all time. Or I guess my third, because my first was Gul'dan. My second was Azshara. And then I think it was Wrathion Anduin. Or Anduin Wrathion, whatever. They come together as a pair. So they ruined one of my favorite characters in Shadowlands and another one of my favorite characters in Dragonflight. And I'm just like, can I get a break? Can I get a break? All I have is Lor'themar left. Azshara got ruined in B4A. Gul'dan's dead. Wrathion and Anduin are gone. Just don't touch Wrathion. Midnight, or don't touch Lor'themar. Midnight, just leave him out. You don't gotta do it. I have one left. Let me have my one final good guy that I like left. So now I'm rambling at this point, but I don't know. Story-wise, I'm intrigued with the War Within. I probably will play it, like I said in my last video, but I haven't pre-ordered it. I don't plan on pre-ordering it. I want to see what the features are like. I'm down with the advanced Nerubians. I think that's a cool concept. But man, please just Blizzard, you have tortured Anduin so badly. You are giving Jaina and Tyrande a run for their money with how badly you've tortured him. Please just let him meet with his dragon boyfriend and just be happy for a little bit, for fuck's sake. Leave him alone. And for the love of God, I will quit and never come back if they give Anduin like a wife or a girlfriend off screen. Because that's the most bullshit comp het thing I could ever think that they would do. And because Christy Golden is still at Blizzard and has a weird lady boner for Anduin, which is very bizarre because she wrote him since he was a child, I'll just say, I can see that actually happening. But yeah, so I will be covering probably cinematics for the War Within, or if there's something really interesting that I think is going to happen, I'll cover that. But otherwise, I'm not planning on doing a lot of Warcraft content. I'll do some, and maybe if people really want some specific thing from me, I can do it. I just want to say Plunderstorm just came out, and if you like that, good, I'm happy for you, but it's not what I thought it was going to be. It's not what it's advertised as. They hyped it up for so long as like a new cool World of Warcraft thing. It's not even like a Dragonflight patch. It happens during Dragonflight, but it's not a Dragonflight patch. It's like a Battle Royale, like New World-esque system, which is fine in concept, but if you're hyping up this huge new thing, tell people beforehand to temper their expectations. All they had to do was say, hey, we're doing a thing that we think is super cool and new. It's not tied to Dragonflight, so don't expect that, but it is a cool new feature that we want to keep working on going forward, so I hope you all are excited for it. This is what Final Fantasy XIV does. Also, it should have been included in 10.2 or 10.2.5. Because what Final Fantasy XIV does, and I'm sorry if you hate the comparisons, but it's a perfect comparison because Final Fantasy does this all the time. They introduce a new feature that's not like anything else in the game, and they're like, hey, here's this weird new thing we're thinking of. There's a new concept, it's weird, we don't know if you're going to like it, we want to iterate on it, we think it's a cool idea. They'll throw it in alongside every other staple thing you would find in a patch. A new raid, more story, a new dungeon, new epic weapons to go keep leveling, blah, 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 blah. And they'll also throw along in this new thing, and they'll say, test it out, let us know what you think, and we will improve on it and keep bringing it back better and better and better. That is what Warcraft should have done. Instead, what they did, like they always do, they let the developers pop off on Twitter and overhype the shit out of it and distort what people thought it was going to be. And then when it comes out and people like me are like, what the fuck is this? This is not what I thought it was. This is not really what I want. Then it makes all of us just look like, oh, we're just haters. It's like, no, I like the concept, but you gotta get better at PR, dude. You had 2 expansions where your PR was so shit you killed the game almost. And now you're still doing it. Is there not a PR manager there anymore? When I went to Blizzard HQ, there was one. Where did they go? So anyway, I know all the content creators are out there being like, all of y'all who are criticizing it are just haters who want to complain. We're definitely not biased because we're in this $50,000 tournament. It's all of you who are wrong. And I'm like, all right, sure thing, Bellular. Okay, sure thing, Preach. Sure thing, Taliesin. Sure thing, Towley. You have no vested interest in defending this inherently. So anyway, that's all my thoughts. That's all my barfed out opinions about Warcraft. Let me know about any of them in the comments below. Also, I just realized I forgot to address the Wrathion and Alexstrasza thing. Let's do that real quick. Wrathion's entire origin... Okay, let's do a speed version. Wrathion's entire origin is that the Red Dragonflight took him as an egg and experimented on him against his will. It left him very bitter. And when he hatched in Cataclysm, they were still trying to use him. They were sending agents after him to try and kill him because he couldn't be controlled anymore. Why the fuck was this never brought up in Dragonflight? Wrathion never mentions this one time. Alexstrasza in Dragonflight even insults Wrathion to his face and says in 10.0 that maybe he cannot be trusted with his flight's legacy. Why the fuck was Wrathion's retort not something like, yeah bitch, you tried to mind control me as an egg so I could be a puppet leader for a puppet Black Dragonflight? That plot thread was never addressed and never is going to be addressed, and it pisses me off because it was the core foundation of Wrathion's character. Why are my glasses always showing crooked on this camera? It was a core foundation of Wrathion's beginning of his character. And it's a criminal that he didn't get that catharsis as a character. So there we go. That's my feelings and my opinions about Warcraft. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. And yeah, until then, next time, I'll see y'all. Farewell.